4 women vanished from Brooklyn's immigrant neighborhoods in 8 weeks, and nobody seemed to care. I was the only one still looking. Tonight, I was meeting my source at a Russian restaurant in Brighton Beach. Irina worked as a server. She knew something about the disappearances. The 2 men entered at 9:43. I'd photographed them loading containers at Red Hook last Tuesday. They positioned themselves at the entrance table. Between me and the door, Irina leaned close when she brought water. Her hands shook. They asked about you. Yesterday. You need to leave now. I can't. They're blocking the exit. Trapped. I grabbed a napkin from the dispenser. My pen, 3 letters, in desperate block print. Help. I placed it at the table's edge, facing the restaurant. The man at table 6 noticed first. Dark suit, colder eyes. 3 men with him, all watching. He stood, walked to my table, sat down without asking, picked up my napkin, folded it, put it in his pocket. You are having difficult evening, he said in Russian accented English. I will help you. Dmitry Kozlov, Hakan of the Kozlov Bratva. I'd written help to strangers. The devil answered. His eyes were gray, storm cloud gray, the kind that warned of violence before it arrived. You're having difficult evening, he said. Not a question. Russian accent threading through each word like smoke. I will help you. I should have said no. Should have stood up and walked away. But my body wouldn't move. Those 2 men at the entrance were still watching, waiting. Who are you? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Dmitry Kozlov. He said it like I should know the name. Like everyone knew the name. And you are Harper Stone. Investigative journalist. Freelance. Currently writing about human trafficking at Brooklyn docks. My stomach dropped. How do you... Is my business to know. He leaned back slightly. Those men who are watching you, they work for Sergei Volkov. Very dangerous man. Much more dangerous than me. That wasn't reassuring. They think you have photographs. Evidence of their operations at Red Hook. His voice was calm, measured, like we were discussing the weather. Not my imminent murder. Do you? I hesitated. He noticed. Truth is faster, he said. Lies waste time we do not have. Yes. I have photos. Good. Then we understand stakes. He made a subtle gesture. Nothing obvious. Just his index finger tapping twice against the table. But his men moved. The 3 at table 6 stood smoothly, repositioning themselves between my table and the entrance, between me and the 2 sicarios who'd been hunting me. It happened in seconds. Professional, military precision. The sicario with the scar through his eyebrow noticed. His hand moved toward his jacket. Dimitri's man was faster. Didn't draw a weapon. Didn't need to. Just moved into position, blocking the sightline. A clear message. Try it. The second sicario pulled out his phone. Typed something. Showed the screen to Scar Eyebrow. They looked at each other. Looked at Dmitri. Something passed between them. Some unspoken calculation. Then Scar Eyebrow nodded once. Stood. His companion followed. They walked out. Just like that. Dmitri watched them leave. Expression unchanged. Then returned his attention to me. They will not try again tonight. Tomorrow? He tilted his head slightly. That is different problem. Why did they leave? Because they know who I am. He pulled my napkin from his pocket. The one with help written in my desperate handwriting. Unfolded it, studied it. You write with good penmanship. Journalist training. What? The letters. Very clear. Even in panic. He refolded it carefully, placed it back in his jacket. You are coming with me now. I'm not going anywhere. Yes, you are. He stood, extended his hand. We go through front door together. My men surround us. You stay close. Or you stay here and die, alone, when Volkov sends more men. Your choice. It wasn't a choice. It was a transaction. And I just asked the devil to broker it. The rain had started by the time we reached the door. Dmitri kept his hand on my lower back. Not aggressive. Possessive. Like he'd already decided I belonged to him and was simply making it clear to everyone else. The hostess smiled at him. Good evening, Mr. Kozlov. She didn't look at me. Didn't acknowledge the terror that must have been written across my face. Just smiled at him like he was any other customer. not a man who'd just orchestrated a silent standoff with armed criminals. Outside, Brighton Beach had transformed. 12 black SUVs lined the street. Maybe more. I stopped counting after 12 because my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. Men in dark suits stood by each vehicle. 30, 40, all watching, all armed. I could see the bulges under their jackets where weapons rested against ribs. This wasn't protection. This was an army. Takan? One of the men opened the rear door of the center SUV. He was massive. 6'5" at least, with shoulders that belonged on a linebacker and a scar that ran from his temple to his jaw. Dmitri nodded once, guided me into the vehicle. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Tinted windows so dark I could barely see out. A partition separated us from the driver. Complete privacy, or complete isolation. Dmitri settled into the seat beside me, not across, beside, close enough that I could feel the heat coming off his body. The door closed with a heavy thunk that sounded impossibly final. Alexei, Dmitri said toward the partition. Home. The SUV pulled away from the curb. The other 11 followed in perfect formation, like a presidential motorcade. Like we were heads of state instead of a criminal. And his, what? Captive? Asset? I didn't even know what to call myself anymore. You are quiet, Dmitri observed. I'm processing. Process faster. We have things to discuss. I turned to look at him. Really look at him for the first time without the immediate threat of death hanging over us. He was younger than I'd thought. Mid-30s, maybe. Sharp cheekbones. Strong jaw. The kind of face that belonged on European runways. Not in the back of an SUV surrounded by armed men. But his eyes ruined the pretty picture. Cold. Calculating. The eyes of someone who'd seen violence and decided he liked it. Where are you taking me? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. His only answer you get? He pulled out his phone. Typed something. Put it away. Tell me about your investigation. No. His gaze shifted to me. Sharp. No. You want my cooperation? You give me information first. Where are we going? A smile. Small. Dangerous. You negotiate. Good. Shows intelligence. He gestured out the window. We go to my territory, Brighton Beach. You know this area. Little Odessa. Yes. Russians call it home. Ukrainians. Georgians. Former Soviet peoples who came to America for better life. He said it with faint amusement. And found different kind of struggle. The SUV turned onto a quieter street. Cyrillic signs glowed in the rain. Restaurants with names I couldn't pronounce. Markets advertising products I'd never heard of. It was like driving into another country without leaving Brooklyn. This is your territory. Everything you see, from the water to Avenue X, from Coney Island to Sheepshead Bay. He said it matter-of-factly, not bragging. Just stating geography. 40 square blocks, 20,000 people. They all know my name. And they're all afraid of you. Fear is a useful tool, but fear alone is not enough. He looked at me again. You understand difference? Between fear and respect? Between fear and loyalty? His phone buzzed. He ignored it. Volkov uses only fear. His men obey because they are terrified. But fear makes people disloyal. They run when things are difficult. They betray when offered better deal. And your men? My men are loyal because I protect them. I provide. I honor our agreements. He leaned back slightly. I am fair. Until I am not. That should have been reassuring. It wasn't. The convoy turned into a warehouse district. Abandoned buildings. Empty lots. The kind of place where bodies got dumped and no one asked questions. My heart rate spiked. Relax, Dmitri said, noticing. No one dies tonight. Unless you try something stupid. That's not comforting. Is not meant to be comforting. Is meant to be truth. The lead SUV stopped in front of a converted warehouse. 3 stories. Brick facade that had been renovated recently. Windows that were too clean, too new for this neighborhood. Security cameras every 20 feet. Dimitri's headquarters. It had to be. The massive man from earlier, Alexei, opened the door. Dmitri stepped out first. Extended his hand to help me. I didn't take it. He waited, patient, like he had all night. Finally, I climbed out on my own. My legs felt unsteady. My clothes were damp from the rain. My phone was still in my purse, but I had no idea if it would even work if I tried to call for help. Who would I call? The police? And tell them what? That I'd written help on a napkin. And the Russian Mafia rescued me? They'd laugh me out of the precinct. Inside, Dmitri said. Not a request. I walked toward the entrance. He followed close behind. Alexei and 3 other men flanked us. Protection or prison escort. Maybe both. The interior was nothing like I expected. Exposed brick walls. Modern lighting. Expensive furniture that looked like it belonged in a Manhattan penthouse, not a warehouse in Brighton Beach. A massive desk dominated one corner. Leather couches faced floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water. Russian artwork hung on the walls. Orthodox icons mixed with contemporary pieces, violence and religion side by side. 2 men were already inside. They stood when Dmitri entered, nodded respectfully. Out, Dmitri said quietly. They left without a word. He gestured to one of the couches. Sit. I remained standing. I want to know what you're planning to do with me. I am planning, he said, moving to a bar cart and pouring 2 glasses of vodka to keep you alive. Whether you cooperate or not is question that determines how comfortable that survival will be. He held out one of the glasses. I didn't take it, he shrugged. Drank both. Now, he said, setting the glasses down with controlled precision. Tell me everything you know about Sergei Volkov's operation, and do not lie. I will know. I didn't answer his question. Not immediately. Instead, I pulled out my phone, opened the browser, typed 2 words. Kozlov Bratva. Dmitri watched me. Didn't try to stop me. Just sat down behind his massive desk and lit a cigarette, smoke curling toward the exposed rafters. The search results loaded. My stomach turned to ice. Dmitri Kozlov, Brighton Beach's most dangerous crime lord. 7 murders linked to Kozlov organization, says FBI. Russian Mafia expands. Kozlov Bratva controls Brooklyn waterfront. I scrolled. Each headline worse than the last. Arms trafficking, money laundering, extortion, protection rackets, and yes, human trafficking. Women smuggled through Red Hook in refrigerated shipping containers. The same containers I'd photographed. The same operation I'd been investigating for 3 months. I looked up at him. He was watching me with those cold gray eyes, expression unreadable. You already knew, I said. My voice shook. About Volkov's trafficking operation. You've known for months, years, he corrected calmly. I have known for years. The room tilted. And you did nothing. I did many things. Just not the things you think I should have done. He tapped ash into a crystal tray. You are a journalist. You want story. Black and white. Good and evil. Heroes and villains. You are a villain. Perhaps. He didn't seem bothered by the accusation. But if I am villain, what does that make you? The woman who wrote help and called the villain to save her. I stood. My chair scraped against the floor. I didn't know who you were. And now you do. He leaned back. So, what will you do with this information? I'll expose you. All of you. Volkov and you. Something flickered across his face. Amusement, maybe. Or respect. You are brave. Stupid, but brave. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. He said it, so quietly, it was almost gentle. But you are not afraid of fright things. You are afraid of being wrong, of compromising your principles, of discovering that world is not as simple as you wish it to be. That hit too close. I pushed back. You don't know anything about me. I know everything about you, Harper Stone. He stood moving around the desk with predatory grace. I know you grew up in Vermont. Small town. Father was police chief. Mother was school teacher. You learned that rules matter. That justice is absolute. That good people follow the law, and bad people break it. He was close now. Too close. I know you came to New York 6 years ago. Worked for the Times briefly. Left because they would not publish your investigation into police corruption. Too controversial. Too uncomfortable. So you went freelance. because you believed the truth mattered more than comfortable lies. How do you? I told you. Is my business to know. He tilted his head slightly. I also know that you are idealist. You believe exposing corruption changes things, that publishing the truth makes difference. But it does not. Nothing changes. Different names, same crimes. You write your articles, feel righteous, and the world continues exactly as it was. I wanted to hit him, wanted to scream that he was wrong, that journalism mattered, that truth mattered. But my voice came out small. I've helped people. Have you? He returned to his desk, opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, slid it across to me. Your article about housing corruption, published 2 years ago, exposed landlord forcing tenants into unsafe conditions. You remember? I remembered. It was one of my best pieces. 3 weeks of investigation, 20 interviews, irrefutable evidence. The landlord was arrested. I said, yes, arrested, released on bail. Charges dropped 6 months later. Insufficient evidence. He still owns those buildings, still forces those people into unsafe conditions, still collects rent. Your article changed nothing except you felt better about yourself. The folder sat between us like an accusation. I didn't open it. Didn't want to know what else he'd discovered about my failures. You are naive, he continued, voice matter of fact rather than cruel. You think the world operates on principles, on rules, on justice. But it operates on power, on money, on violence. And you, he gestured at me. You try to fight that with words, with articles no one will remember in 6 months. At least I'm trying. My hands clenched into fists. What are you doing? Running the same operations you claim to oppose. You're no different than Volkov. I am very different than Volkov. His voice went cold. Dangerous. Volkov is animal. He traffics women for profit only. Uses them. Destroys them. Throws them away like garbage. And you? I control territory. I maintain order. I protect my people. He stood again. And yes, sometimes that means eliminating threats. Sometimes that means violence. Sometimes that means making deals with other criminals to prevent worse outcomes. You call it evil. I call it pragmatism. You're justifying. I am explaining. He moved toward me again. You want to stop Volkov's operation? You cannot do it with article. You cannot do it with police. They are already paid to look other way. You cannot do it alone. So what are you suggesting? I am suggesting we help each other. I laughed. Bitter. Sharp. Help each other. You're a criminal. Yes. And you are a journalist who needs access to Volkov's operation to save those women. I can give you that access. In exchange for what? In exchange, you do not expose Kozlov Brodva in your article. You focus on Volkov. You destroy him. And I eliminate my competition while you feel like heroes saving innocents. It was brilliant. Horrible and brilliant. The door opened without knocking. Alexei entered. Spoke in rapid Russian. Dmitri's expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. He responded in Russian. Alexei nodded and left. Dmitri turned to me. We will continue this conversation later. You will stay here tonight. East Wing has bedroom prepared for you. I'm not staying. Yes, you are. He moved to the door. Stopped. Looked back. You want to save those women? You want to stop Volkov? Then you will stay. You will work with me. And you will do exactly as I say. I don't take orders from criminals. And those women die. He said it, with absolute certainty. Your choice, Harper. Your principles or their lives. Decide. He left. The door closed behind him. I stood there, alone in his office, surrounded by wealth built on violence, staring at the folder on his desk that contained evidence of all my failures. He was right. That was the worst part. Every word he'd said was true. My articles hadn't changed anything. Corruption continued. Criminals walked free. And somewhere in Brooklyn, 4 women were trapped in shipping containers because I'd been too principled to make the deals necessary to save them. I grabbed the folder, opened it. Inside, copies of my articles. Notes on their lack of impact. Follow-up reports showing nothing had changed. Names of people I'd helped who were no better off than before. Evidence of my irrelevance. I slammed it shut, threw it across the room. The door opened again. A different man this time. Young, nervous. Miss Stone, I show you to your room. I'm not. I stopped. Where would I go? Back to my apartment, where Volkov's men knew the address? To the police who were already paid off? To my editor who couldn't protect me? Dmitri was right about that too. I was trapped. Not by his orders, by reality. Fine, I said. Show me. The young man led me through corridors. Upstairs, to a wing of the warehouse I hadn't known existed. He opened a door. Inside, a bedroom that would have been at home in a luxury hotel. King bed. Private bathroom. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the water. And bars on the outside of the windows. Subtle, but there. Mr. Kozlov says you have everything you need. If you require anything, guard his outside door. Guard or warden. He didn't answer. Just left. I heard the lock click. I was in a gilded cage. Comfortable prison. All the amenities except the one that mattered. Freedom. I sat on the bed. Pulled out my phone. Thought about calling someone. Who? My editor? What would I say? I'm being held by the Russian Mafia, but the room is nice. The police? They were compromised. My parents? They'd have a heart attack. I put the phone down. Stared at the ceiling. Thought about everything Dmitri had said. About my naivete, my failures, my irrelevance. About the choice he'd given me. Principles or lie, righteousness or results. Everything I'd built my identity on was being tested. And I didn't know if it would survive. Outside, rain started again. Drops hitting the barred windows like tiny accusations. You wanted to save them, they seemed to say. So why are you still here? Why haven't you found a way? Because the only way forward went through a devil's bargain. And I didn't know if I was strong enough to refuse it, or brave enough to accept it. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those headlines. 7 murders. Trafficking. Arms. Dealing. The man who'd saved me from Volkov's Sicarios was worse than the men he'd saved me from. Or was he? That was the question that kept me awake until dawn broke over the water, painting the sky in shades of gray that matched Dmitri's eyes. At 6:47 a.m., I heard the lock click. I sat up, grabbed the lamp from the nightstand like it could protect me. The door opened. Dmitri entered, carrying a tray. Coffee. Pastries that smelled like they'd been baked hours ago. Fresh fruit. He was dressed differently than last night. Black sweater instead of a suit. Jeans. He looked almost normal. Human. Not like a man responsible for 7 murders. You did not sleep? He observed, setting the tray on the desk by the window. How would you know? Guard outside. Reported lights on all night. And he gestured at my face. You have circles under eyes. Journalist instinct tells you to observe details. Yes. Works both ways. I put the lamp down. Felt ridiculous for thinking it would help. I brought breakfast. He poured coffee into a delicate china cup. The kind that probably cost more than my monthly rent. We should talk. I don't want to talk to you. Yes, you do. Otherwise, you would have attempted escape during night. He held out the cup. You did not. Because you are smart enough to know there is nowhere to go. And because you are curious about my offer. I didn't take the coffee. I'm not working for you. I am not asking you to work for me. He set the cup down on the tray, poured one for himself. Added nothing. Drank it black. I am asking you to work with me. There is difference. Semantics. Precision. He moved to the window. Looked out at Brighton Beach, waking up below. Volkov runs trafficking operation from Red Hook. You know this. You have photos. Evidence. Names. But you cannot publish story because the moment you do, he will destroy evidence, kill witnesses, and disappear. Yes? I didn't answer. He was right. And if you go to police, they do nothing. They are paid to look away. If you go to FBI, they investigate for months, maybe years, and by then those women are dead or vanished. Yes? Still right. So you have 2 choices. Give up investigation and let those women die. Or, he turned to face me. Work with me. I give you access to Volkov's entire operation. Shipping manifests, financial records, names of his buyers. Everything you need to write story that destroys him completely. In exchange for what? In exchange, Kozlov Bratva stays out of your article. You focus on Volkov. You expose him. You save the women. You feel like hero. And I, small smile, I eliminate competition and consolidate territory. It was exactly what he'd said last night. But in daylight, with coffee and pastries between us, it sounded almost reasonable. That was the terrifying part. You want me to help you commit murder? I want you to help yourself save innocent lives. If Volkov dies in process, he shrugged. That is unfortunate consequence of being human trafficker. You traffic weapons. I sell products to buyers. What they do with products is not my concern. He sat in the chair across from me. But I do not traffic humans. I do not sell women like animals. I do not stuff them in containers to suffocate and die. There are lines I do not cross. How noble. Not noble. Pragmatic. Human trafficking brings too much attention. Too much heat from authorities. Bad for business. But more than that. Something shifted in his expression. Brief. Almost vulnerable. I had sister once. Alina. She was 16 when men like Volkov took her. The room went quiet. I was 14. Could not stop them. Could not save her. His voice didn't change. Still calm. Still measured. But underneath, they found her body 3 months later, in container at Petersburg docks. I didn't know what to say. So no, Harper, I am not noble. I am not good man. But I do not do what Volkov does. And I will destroy any man who trades in human suffering that way. He met my eyes. You want to save those women? This is only way. I wanted to argue. Wanted to find another option. But I'd spent all night searching for one and found nothing. How would it work? You stay here. Under my protection. You have access to my resources. My intelligence network. My contacts. You gather information on Volkov's operation. When you have enough evidence, you publish. But first, he leaned forward. First, you help me find where he keeps those women. We extract them safely. Before your article goes live, you extract them? Or you use them as leverage? I extract them and turn them over to proper authorities. Organizations that actually help trafficking victims, not police who will deport them or lock them in detention. He pulled out his phone, showed me a list of names. NGOs, legitimate organizations. These groups will take them, give them real help, real chance at life. I recognized some of the names. Organizations I'd worked with before. They were real, reputable. You've already contacted them? I contacted them last night, while you were not sleeping. They are ready to receive survivors whenever we can extract them. He'd planned this. All of it. Before I'd even decided. You were that certain I'd agree? I was certain you would see reality. That you care more about saving lives than feeling righteous. He stood, moved to the desk, opened a laptop. I hadn't noticed before. Here, already set up for you. Encrypted. Secure. Access to files on Volkov's operation. Start reading. I didn't move. What about my editor? My apartment? My life? Your editor Mark believes you are in protective custody. FBI witness protection. I had associate contact him last night with official sounding explanation. He believes you are safe. You impersonated federal agents. I had associate make phone call. What your editor believes is his choice. Dmitri returned to the window. Your apartment is being watched by Volkov's men. You cannot return. Your mail is being forwarded here. Your bills are being paid. Your life, as it was, is suspended until this is resolved. You can't just... I already did. You have two choices, Harper. Accept reality and work with me. Or I put you in car, drive you back to your apartment, and watch Volkov's men kill you within 24 hours. He turned. Which do you prefer? My hands clenched. This is blackmail. This is protection. You asked for when you wrote help on that napkin. He was right. I hated that he was right. I walked to the laptop. Opened the first file. Shipping manifests. Dates. Container numbers. Everything I'd been trying to find for months. All here. Organized. Detailed. Where did you get this? I have man inside Volkov's organization. He has been feeding me information for 6 months. You have a spy in his operation. I have loyal employee who understands which side is winning. Dmitri moved beside me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive. Cedar and smoke. Volkov is sloppy. Paranoid. He trusts no one and therefore inspires no loyalty. His operation will collapse with right pressure. Your article provides that pressure. I scrolled through the files. More information than I'd dreamed possible. Names, locations, financial transactions, everything needed to dismantle his entire network. And all I had to do was sell my integrity to get it. If I do this, I said slowly, I'm compromised. Everything I publish will be tainted because I got it through criminal means. You will have gotten it through confidential source. How is that different from any other investigative journalism? The source is a mafia boss. The source is a person with access to information. What I am is irrelevant to truth of information. He pointed at the screen. Those manifests are real. Those transactions happened. Those women exist. Whether you got evidence from FBI or from me does not change facts. My journalism ethics professor would have had a heart attack, but he'd never tried to save someone's life while maintaining perfect moral purity. What are your rules? I asked. If I stay, if I work with you, what are the terms? You do not leave this building without my permission. You do not contact outside authorities without my knowledge. You do not publish anything until we have extracted those women safely. He paused. And you do not betray me. If you do, Harper, I will not kill you, but I will make sure you watch everyone you care about suffer consequences. There it was, the monster underneath the reasonable exterior. Understood, I said quietly. Good. He moved toward the door. You have full access to East Wing. Gym. Kitchen. Library. Bathroom is stocked. Clothes in your size are in closet. Anything you need, tell guard outside. His name is Yuri. He does not speak much English, but he understands requests. How long do I have to gather evidence? As long as needed. But those women, he looked back. They do not have long. Volkov moves shipments every 2 weeks. Next shipment is in 9 days. If we do not find them by then, they will be gone. 9 days. 9 days to compromise everything I believed in to save 4 lives. Maybe more than 4. The files mentioned other shipments, other women, a network that stretched across 3 states. I'll need access to my notes. My research, already uploaded to secure drive. Check the desktop. He opened the door. We will meet tonight. You brief me on what you find. I brief you on Volkov's movements. We coordinate. Coordinate, I repeated, like we were colleagues, partners. Yes, you provide intelligence. I provide action. Together, we end this. He left. The door didn't lock this time. I could leave if I wanted. Walk out. Take my chances. But we both knew I wouldn't. Because somewhere in Brooklyn, 4 women were trapped in a container, and the only person who could help me save them was a man who'd murdered 7 people. I sat down at the laptop, opened the first file, started reading, and with each page, each manifest, each transaction, I felt my moral certainty crumbling a little more. This was how it started. I thought. This was how good people became complicit, not through grand corruption, through small compromises, through choosing the lesser evil, through telling yourself that the ends justified the means. I'd always judged people who made those choices. Now I was making them myself. The coffee was cold by the time I finished the first 100 pages. But I kept reading, because I'd already made my choice. Even if I wouldn't admit it out loud yet, I was working with the devil. And God help me. I was going to save those women even if it damned me in the process. 7 days. I'd been living in Dmitry Kozlov's headquarters for 7 days, and I'd learned things about him I never wanted to know. He drank his coffee black. Always 2 cups before 7 a.m. He worked until 2 a.m. most nights. I knew because I could hear him moving around the floor below, speaking Russian into his phone, the words sharp and commanding even when I couldn't understand them. He was left-handed. I noticed when we sat across from each other during our nightly briefings, the way he wrote notes in Cyrillic, pen moving from right to left across the page. And he remembered everything I said, every detail, every preference. Every complaint. On day 3, I mentioned the coffee was too strong. The next morning, it was perfect. My preferred blend. The kind I bought at the bodega near my old apartment. I didn't ask how he knew. Didn't want to know. You found something, Dmitri said, appearing in the doorway of what had become my workspace. It was past midnight. I'd been staring at shipping manifests for 6 hours, cross-referencing container numbers with dock schedules, building a timeline of Volkov's operation. Container 4427B, I said, turning my laptop toward him. It arrived at Red Hook 4 days ago. Hasn't moved since. All of Volkov's other containers get processed within 48 hours. This one's been sitting there. He moved behind my chair, close. I could feel the heat of him, smell that cedar and smoke cologne that I'd started associating with late nights and difficult revelations. You think the women are inside? I think it's possible. The manifest lists it as agricultural equipment, but the weight is wrong. Too light for machinery. About right for... I stopped. Couldn't say it. For human cargo, he finished quietly. Good work, Harper. The praise shouldn't have mattered. But it did. That was the problem. What happens now? Now I send men to confirm. If you are right, we extract them before Volkov realizes we know. He straightened. You will come with us. What? You will come. You need to see. For your article. For credibility. You cannot write about rescue you did not witness. I'm a journalist. Not. You are a journalist who wants truth. Truth is not always comfortable. Sometimes truth requires you to watch. He moved toward the door. We leave at dawn. Get sleep. You will need it. He left before I could argue. I didn't sleep. Again, dawn came too quickly. I dressed in dark clothes like Dmitri had instructed. Felt like I was preparing for war. Maybe I was. Alexei was waiting by the SUV. Same massive man from the restaurant. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Scar tissue covered his knuckles, prison tattoos visible at his collar. Eyes that had seen things I couldn't imagine. Miss Stone, he said in heavily accented English. You stay behind me, always. You do not speak, unless Pakan says. You do not move, unless Pakan says. Yes? Yes. Dmitri emerged from the warehouse, black tactical gear. Weapon holstered at his hip. He looked different. Not the man who brought me coffee. Not the man who discussed philosophy over vodka. This was the Pakan, the killer, the criminal. This was who he really was. Ready? He asked. I wasn't. But I nodded anyway. The drive to Red Hook took 20 minutes. 6 SUVs this time. Smaller convoy, more tactical. We parked 2 blocks from the docks, approaching on foot through abandoned warehouses. Dmitri's men moved like soldiers. Silent. Precise. Hand signals. No words needed. I stayed close to Alexei like instructed. My heart hammered so hard I was sure someone would hear it. We reached the container yard. Rows of metal boxes stacked like children's blocks. Hundreds of them. Finding one should have been impossible, but Dmitri knew exactly where to go. Container 4027B sat isolated from the others. 2 of Volkov's men guarded it. Smoking. Bored. They didn't see us coming. Dmitri's men moved fast. Silent. Takedowns. The guards dropped without firing a shot. Professional. Efficient. Terrifying. Dmitri approached the container. Put his ear against the metal. Listen. Then he nodded. Alexei produced bolt cutters. The lock snapped, with a sound that echoed across the empty yard. The door swung open. The smell hit first. Waste. Fear. Desperation. Then I saw them. 4 women. Huddled in the corner. Filthy. Terrified. One couldn't have been more than 19. Another was pregnant. They screamed when they saw us. Thought we were there to hurt them. Ticho. Dmitri said softly. Quiet. He holstered his weapon, held up empty hands, said something in Russian, then Ukrainian, then English. You are safe. We are not Volkov's men. You are safe now. The pregnant woman started crying. Not from fear, from relief. I watched Dmitri Kozlov, murderer, criminal, mafia boss, kneel in front of these women and promise them safety, and I watched them believe him. His men brought water. Blankets. medical supplies from the SUVs. Dmitri called someone, spoke rapidly in Russian, then turned to me. NGO contact is 10 minutes away. Ambulance coming. They will be taken care of. What about Volkov? He'll know. He will know someone interfered. He will suspect. He will be angry. Small smile. Dangerous. Good. Angry men make mistakes. And when he makes his mistake, we will end him. 20 minutes later, the women were in ambulances. Safe. Protected. On their way to people who would actually help them. I'd just participated in a criminal operation. Breaking and entering. Assault of Volkov's guards. Theft of human cargo. And I felt no guilt. Only satisfaction. That should have terrified me. Instead, I felt proud. Day 9. I was in the library when I overheard it. The room below Dmitri's office had thin walls. I could hear voices. Russian, mostly, but some English. A man I didn't recognize. Nervous. Pleading. Please, Mr. Kozlov. I can get the money. Just need more time. You had time. Dmitri's voice. Cold. Final. You had 3 months. My daughter is sick. Hospital bills. I couldn't. Not my concern. Sounds of a struggle. A cry of pain. I moved to the railing. Could see down into the corridor below. 3 of Dmitri's men, holding someone. The man who'd been pleading, blood running from his nose. Dmitri stood in front of him. Calm. Controlled. You borrowed money. You agreed to terms. You did not pay. He nodded to one of his men. Break his hand. No. Please. The crack echoed up the stairs. The scream followed. I stood frozen. Watching. Unable to move. Unable to look away. This was justice in Dmitri's world. Brutal. Immediate. No courts. No appeals. The man was dragged out. Still crying. Dmitri looked up. Saw me watching. Our eyes met. He didn't look ashamed. Didn't look angry that I'd witnessed it. He just looked tired. Then he turned and walked back into his office. I should have confronted him. Should have said something. Should have done something. I did nothing. Just returned to the library. To my research. To building the case against Volkov, while ignoring the violence happening under the same roof. This was complicity. This was choosing to look away. This was becoming exactly what I'd sworn I'd never be. Day 12. I found it. The smoking gun. Financial records showing Volkov's entire network. Buyers, sellers, politicians he'd paid off. Police on his payroll. Everything. Enough to destroy him completely. I wrote the article. 3,000 words. Names. Dates. Evidence. Irrefutable. It was good. Maybe the best thing I'd ever written. I sent it to my editor. 10 minutes later, my laptop shut down. Remotely, Dmitri appeared in my doorway. What did you do? His voice was quiet. Dangerous. My job. I wrote the story. Sent it to... I told you not to publish until we had Volkov secured. He crossed the room in 3 strides. Do you understand what you just did? I exposed a criminal. That's what journalists... You warned him. He grabbed my laptop. The moment your editor opens that file, it will flag. Volkov has people watching for his name in media databases. He will know. He will run. And we will lose him. That's not how. That is exactly how it works. He was angrier than I'd ever seen him. Not yelling. Worse. Ice cold. You think you know better? You think your journalism ethics are more important than strategy? Than survival? I think the truth matters more than your gang war. His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. Part of me almost wanted him to. Wanted proof he was the monster I needed him to be. Instead, he took a breath. Set down my laptop carefully. Too carefully. You betrayed my trust, he said quietly. That was mistake. He left. The door clicked shut behind him. Not locked. Never locked. But somehow that made it worse. 3 days passed. Dmitri didn't speak to me. Didn't come to my workspace. Didn't bring coffee. Meals were delivered by Yuri. Messages came through Alexei. I was cut off. Isolated. Punished. Not through violence, but through absence. I told myself I didn't care. That I'd done the right thing. That his anger meant nothing. But the silence ate at me. On the 3rd day, I broke. Found him in his office. Late. Past 2 a.m. He was at his desk, smoking, reviewing documents. "I'm sorry," I said from the doorway. He didn't look up. "For what?" "For sending the article without telling you." For s- I struggled for words. "For breaking the agreement." "You are not sorry for sending it. You are sorry. I am angry with you." He finally looked up. "There is difference." He was right. I hated that he was right. "Volkov will run now," he continued. "Your article will publish. He will disappear, and other women will suffer because you could not wait 3 more days for us to locate him." The words hit like physical blows. "I didn't." "You did." He stood, moved around the desk. "You put your need to feel righteous above actual results. You chose moral purity over effectiveness. And that choice will cost lives." I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but I couldn't. Because he was right. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now?" He leaned against his desk. "Now you learn to trust me. Or you leave. Those are your options." "I can't leave. Volkov still wants me dead." "Then you learn to trust me. You follow my strategy. You wait when I say wait. You publish when I say publish. You understand that I have been fighting this war longer than you have been journalist." The silence stretched between us. "Okay," I said finally. "I'll wait." "Why?" "Because I ordered you to." "That will not last." "Because," I swallowed. "Because you were right. About the results mattering more than feeling right. About my articles not changing anything. About," I met his eyes. "About me being naive." Something shifted in his expression. "You are learning." "I hate that I'm learning from you." "I know." Almost a smile. "But you are learning anyway." He moved to the bar cart, poured 2 glasses of vodka, offered one to me. This time, I took it. We drank in silence, and somehow, the silence was no longer punishment. It was understanding. Everything changed on day 16. I woke to shouting. Russian voices, rapid and angry, echoing through the warehouse. My phone showed 4:37 a.m. Something was wrong. I grabbed my robe, opened the door. Yuri wasn't at his post. The hallway was empty. More shouting from below. Dmitri's voice, sharp with command. Then Alexei, explaining something in Russian that made the temperature in the building drop. I shouldn't have gone downstairs. Should have stayed in my room like a smart person. But I'd stopped being smart 16 days ago when I wrote help on a napkin. The main floor was chaos. Men moving with weapons. Laptops open. Someone on the phone speaking rapidly. And in the center of it all, Dmitri stood motionless, staring at his phone screen. His face was stone. But his eyes. I'd never seen rage like that before. "What happened?" I asked. Every head turned. Alexei moved to intercept me. "Miss Stone, you should not tell her," Dmitri said quietly. Didn't look up from his phone. "She deserves to know what her righteous article accomplished." My stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" He turned the phone toward me. The screen showed a photo. A woman. Bloodied. Beaten. Barely recognizable. Irina. The server from the restaurant. The one who'd warned me. "Is she alive?" "Barely." Dmitri's voice was ice. "Volkov's men found her 3 hours ago. Beat her. Left her in alley with message for me." He gestured to one of his men. A note was handed over. Russian text. Then English below. "You took my merchandise. I take your informants. Fair trade." My legs stopped working. I sat down hard on the nearest chair. "How did he know Irina helped me?" "Because you mentioned her name in your article draft." Dmitri finally looked at me. "The one you sent to your editor. The one I told you not to send. Remember?" "I didn't. I never mentioned her by name." He mentioned server who provided information about suspicious activity at restaurant. Volkov owns that restaurant. He has 3 servers. 2 are his nieces. Process of elimination. He turned away. "Alexei, get Irina to the clinic." "Our doctor." "No hospitals." "Day Pakan." I couldn't breathe. "This is my fault." "Yes." No hesitation. No kindness. Just truth. "This is your fault. You were warned. You ignored warning. And now woman who tried to save you is fighting for her life because you could not follow one simple instruction." The words hit like fists. I didn't know. You did not know. Because you did not ask, did not think, did not consider consequences beyond your need to truth. He moved toward me, slowly, deliberately. You want to be investigative journalist? Then investigate consequences. Think 3 moves ahead. Understand that in this world, righteousness gets people killed. I was trying to help. You were trying to feel good about yourself. There is difference. He was close now, voice low. Dangerous. Irina is 23 years old. She has mother in Ukraine. She sends money to every month. She has little sister who wants to be doctor, and now she has broken ribs, shattered jaw, and internal bleeding. Because you wanted to feel like hero. I started crying. Couldn't help it. Couldn't stop it. Dmitri watched. No sympathy. No comfort. This is reality, Harbor. Actions have consequences. Your article? It warned Volkov. He moved his remaining operations underground, killed 3 of my informants. And now we have lost 6 months of intelligence gathering because you could not wait 72 hours. I didn't mean. Intent is irrelevant. Results matter. I told you this. He turned back to his men, started giving orders. In Russian, dismissing me without words. I stood there, useless, crying, watching them mobilize. Finally found my voice. What can I do? Nothing. You have done enough. He didn't even look at me. Go back to your room. Stay there. Do not interfere with operations you do not understand. I didn't go back to my room. Instead, I went to my workspace, pulled up every file, every piece of intelligence Dmitri had given me, and I started looking, really looking, at dates, timelines, information that had seemed random, but now, the shipping manifests. He'd given them to me on day 2, but some were dated from 6 months ago. He'd had this information long before I arrived. The financial records showing Volkov's network. Time-stamped, many from over a year ago. The NGO contacts. Prearranged. Waiting. He'd been planning this operation for months. Maybe years. And then I'd shown up with my investigation. My photos. My naive belief that journalism could change things. I pulled up more files. Dug deeper. Found correspondence between Dmitri and someone with the initials MP. Messages about using the journalist when she arrives. Let her believe she's driving the investigation. Her article will provide perfect cover for our extraction operations. My hands started shaking. I searched for more. Found a folder I'd never noticed before. Buried deep. Password protected. I tried combinations. Dates. Names. Russian words I'd learned. It opened on Alina, his sister. The one taken by traffickers. Inside, everything. Surveillance photos of me. From months ago. Before the restaurant. Before I'd ever heard of Dmitri Kozlov. Me at the docks. Taking photos of Volkov's operations. Me meeting with sources. Me at my apartment. He'd been watching me. For months. There were notes. Analysis of my articles. My patterns. My weaknesses. Type 1 Enneagram. Perfectionist. Morally rigid. Will respond to appeals to justice. Likely to act impulsively if she believes she's helping victims. I kept reading. Each line worse than the last. Target is ideal for operation. Investigative journalist with vendetta against trafficking. Can be manipulated through moral outrage. Will not question our methods if she believes outcome is righteous. And then, the final note. Plan. Allow Volkov's men to threaten her at restaurant. Intervene. Offer protection in exchange for cooperation. She will rationalize working with us if she believes she's saving victims. Her article will provide media cover for our operations against Volkov while keeping Kozlov Bratva out of spotlight. I was going to be sick. Everything. All of it. Every moment. The men at the restaurant. Had they been real threats? Or had Dmitri arranged it? The help napkin. Had he been waiting for me to ask for help? The women in the container. Real victims. But had he known about them all along? Let them suffer until I could be used to find them. How much of this was real? How much was manipulation? I printed the files. All of them. Stuffed them in my bag. I had to get out. Had to think. Had the door opened behind me. Dmitri. He saw the printer. The open files. The look on my face. His expression didn't change. You found it. You've been using me. My voice shook. From the beginning, all of this, every moment, you've been manipulating me. Yes, just like that. No denial, no justification. The men at the restaurant were a real threat, but I knew they would be there. I had informant tell me when Volkov planned to move against you. He stepped into the room. I did not create danger. I simply ensured I was positioned to save you from it. You let me believe I was making choices, that I was helping, that this partnership? He almost smiled. It was partnership. I provided resources. You provided legitimacy. Together we accomplished more than either could alone. You studied me. You profiled me. You manipulated every weakness. I understood you. There is difference. He moved closer. Everything I told you was truth. My sister, Alina, she died exactly as I said. My hatred of trafficking is real. My desire to destroy Volkov is real. What we did together, saving those women, gathering evidence, building case against him, all of it was real. But you used me to do it. Yes. Because you would not have helped otherwise. You would have seen me as criminal. Refused my offer. Gotten yourself killed. His voice hardened. I saved your life, Harper. And yes, I benefited from it. That does not make the rescue less real. I grabbed my bag. The printed files. I'm done. I'm leaving. You cannot leave. Volkov still. I don't care. I moved toward the door. I'd rather take my chances with him than stay here one more second with you. He stepped aside. Let me pass. If you leave, you will die. Then I'll die with my integrity intact. Your integrity? He laughed. Bitter. Harsh. Your integrity means nothing if you are dead. How many times must I tell you this? I kept walking. Down the hallway. Toward the exit. He followed. Not chasing. Just following. Harper. Stop. Think about this. I have thought about it. For 16 days I've thought about it. I've compromised everything I believe. I've watched you break bones. I've stayed silent. I've worked with criminals. I've become complicit in violence. I reached the main door. And for what? So you could use me as propaganda tool in your gang war? So we could save lives? You didn't save lives. You used those women as leverage. You let them suffer until it served your purpose. Rescue them. The words poured out. All the doubts. All the horror. You're no different than Volkov. You just have better PR. His jaw clenched. I am very different than Volkov. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you're both criminals who use people as game pieces. The silence stretched between us. Then, quietly, if that is what you believe, then yes, you should leave. He opened the door himself. Cold air rushed in. Dawn was breaking. Brighton Beach waking up below, somewhere out there. Volkov's men were waiting. But I didn't care. I couldn't stay here. Couldn't look at Dmitry Kozlov one more second without seeing all the lies, all the manipulation, all the ways I'd let myself be used. Goodbye, Harper, he said softly. I walked out. Didn't look back. Made it 2 blocks before the van pulled up. 3 men. Volkov's colors. Moving fast. I tried to run. Wasn't fast enough. Bag over my head. Hands zip-tied. Thrown into the van. The last thing I heard before everything went dark. Boss will be very happy we found you. The warehouse smelled like rust and fear. Volkov didn't hurt me. Not yet. That was almost worse. He wanted me to see first. To understand. The containers were lined up like coffins. 20 of them. Maybe more. I'd stopped counting. This is what you wanted to expose, yes? His English was better than Dimitri's. Smoother. No accent to soften the cruelty. Your big story. Your righteous investigation. I said nothing. Hands zip-tied behind my back. Kneeling on concrete that bit into my knees. He walked between the containers, touching each one like a farmer, inspecting livestock. You know what is funny? Your article, the one you tried to publish, it accomplished nothing. I moved operations. Changed routes. These women, he gestured broadly. Safe from your journalism. But not safe from me. He stopped in front of me. Crouched down. Made me look at him. You thought you could save them with words, with truth, with, he smiled, integrity. Yes, that is what journalists believe. That exposure changes things. I wanted to spit in his face. Wanted to tell him he was wrong, but I couldn't, because he was right. My articles hadn't saved anyone. My integrity hadn't protected Irina. My principles hadn't stopped a single shipment. All I'd accomplished was getting myself captured and making everything worse. Your Mafia boyfriend will come for you, Volkov continued, standing, and I will kill him. Thank you for this gift, Miss Stone. You have delivered my rival directly to me. He left me there, alone with the containers, alone with the knowledge that somewhere inside those metal boxes, women were Cesar, and I couldn't help them. Worse, I'd made their suffering possible by exposing Dmitri's operations against Volkov, by publishing that article, by being so desperate to feel righteous that I'd warned the enemy. I'd always believed I was better than people who compromised, better than people who worked with criminals, better than people who chose survival over principle. I'd been wrong. I wasn't better. I was worse, because at least people who compromised got results. At least people who worked with criminals saved lives. At least people who chose survival had something to show for it. What did I have? Bloodied knees, zip-tied wrists, and the certainty that my righteousness had accomplished nothing except delivering more victims to a monster. This was type 4 thinking. I realized dimly the worst version of myself. Moody, self-absorbed, convinced of my own unique terribleness. But what if it wasn't distortion? What if I really was that useless? The hours crawled by. No food, no water. Just me and the containers, and the weight of my failures. Eventually, though, something shifted. I thought about those 4 women we'd saved. Container 4427B. They were real. They'd gotten out. They were safe. Not because of my journalism, because of Dmitri's violence. I thought about Irina, beaten, barely alive, but alive. Because Dmitri had gotten her to his doctor. His clinic. His protection. Not mine. I'd spent 16 days judging his methods, judging his compromises, judging his pragmatism, but his methods saved lives. My principles saved no one. The realization hit like cold water. I'd been so focused on being right that I'd forgotten to be effective, so focused on moral purity that I'd accomplished nothing except feeling superior. Dmitri had been right from the beginning. Intent was irrelevant. Results mattered. I didn't have to like his methods. Didn't have to approve of his violence. Didn't have to abandon every principle I held. But I had to admit that alone, with just my integrity and my laptop, I'd saved exactly 0 people. While working with him, compromised, complicit, morally tainted, I'd saved 4. Maybe more, if I counted the women who would have been in the containers. Volkov had been forced to abandon when we disrupted his operations. The question wasn't whether I was good. The question was whether I wanted to be good or whether I wanted to do good. And sitting here on this concrete floor, zip-tied and useless, I finally understood the difference. If I got out of here, when I got out of here, I would have to change. Not abandon my principles, but hold them more loosely, more pragmatically. I'd have to accept that the world didn't run on moral absolutes, that sometimes the only way to fight monsters was to work with other monsters. That Dmitri Kozlov, manipulative and violent and criminal, had saved more lives than I ever had with my perfect integrity. I needed him. Not because I was weak, not because I couldn't survive alone, but because together, we were effective in ways neither of us could be separately. Back at his warehouse in Brighton Beach, Dmitri stood at the window. 3 hours had passed since I'd walked out his door. 3 hours before Alexei finally came to him with the news. Pakon. Miss Stone. She left, and Alexei hesitated. She was taken. 2 blocks from here. Volkov's men. Dmitri said nothing. Just kept watching, Brighton Beach below. Watching the city he controlled. The territory he'd built, all of it meaningless without me there. Send men to search, Alexei said. We find her. We bring her back. No, Alexei stared. Pakon? She chose to leave. She chose risk over safety. She made her decision. Dmitri turned from the window. We do nothing. But Volkov will do what he does. That is not my concern. He moved to his desk. Sat. Miss Stone wanted her integrity. She wanted to die righteous. Let her have what she wants. Alexei left. Confused. Worried. Dmitri told himself he didn't care. Let them all worry. He had work to do. Operations to run. Territory to maintain. He didn't need anyone. Especially not naive journalists who believed truth mattered more than survival. He opened his laptop, reviewed files, made decisions, sent orders. Business continued. Hours passed. He tried not to think about me. Tried not to imagine what Volkov was doing to me. Tried not to picture me frightened. Tried not to consider that I might be hurt, because he'd let me walk away. He built his territory through strength, through isolation, through needing no one. Attachment was weakness. This was type 5 thinking. He recognized it even as he fell into it, withdrawing, intellectualizing, convincing himself that isolation was strength rather than cowardice. But what if it was both? More hours crawled by. His men moved around him, asked questions. He answered. Precisely, coldly, efficiently. Everything functioned perfectly, except he couldn't focus. Couldn't stop replaying the moment I'd walked out. The moment he'd let me go. The moment he'd chosen pride over action. Your integrity means nothing if you are dead, he told me. But what did his power mean if he used it for nothing except maintaining control? He'd built an empire. 40 square blocks, 20,000 people. Enough weapons to start a war. Enough money to buy almost anything. And he'd used all of it to, what? Eliminate competition? Expand territory? Prove he needed no one? His sister Alina had died because he was too weak to save her. 14 years old. Powerless. Unable to stop the men who took her. So he'd spent 20 years becoming strong. Becoming powerful. Becoming someone no one could touch. But what was the point of all that power, if he didn't use it to protect the people who mattered? I mattered to him. He'd been telling himself I was a tool, an asset, a means to an end, but I was more than that. I challenged him, questioned him, refused to fear him even when I should. I made him want to be, not better. He would never be good, but more. Something more than just power and control and violence. I'd called him no different than Volkov. I was wrong. He knew the difference. Volkov took. He consumed. He destroyed. Dmitri protected. He provided. He built. The methods were brutal. The means were violent. But the purpose was different. And I had seen that purpose. Had worked with him because I recognized that he wanted to save lives. Even if his methods were ugly. He'd pushed me away. Used me. Manipulated me. Because that was what he did. Control. Manipulate. Maintain power. But real power wasn't controlling everyone. Real power was admitting when someone mattered enough to be vulnerable. He stood. Opened the door. Alexei was waiting outside like he knew he would be. Gather everyone, Dmitri said quietly. We get her back. Yes, Pakan. And Alexei? He met his eyes. When we find her, I want Volkov alive. Not dead. Alive. You understand? Alexei understood. For her, Dmitri confirmed. Not because he needed me. Not because I was useful, but because I mattered. And he was done pretending otherwise. I heard them before I saw them. Gunfire. Shouting. The metallic clang of containers being breached. Volkov's men ran past my position. Frantic. Disorganized. Then silence. The warehouse door opened. Footsteps. Calm. Measured. Dmitri appeared in the doorway. No weapon drawn. Hands empty. Just him. He saw me on the floor. Zip-tied. Bloodied knees. Hours of defeat written across my face. Harper, he said quietly. Just my name. Nothing else. I started crying. Couldn't help it. Relief and shame and gratitude and anger all mixed together. He crossed the space between us. Knelt. Pulled a knife from his boot and cut the zip ties. My hands were numb. He rubbed circulation back into them with careful, gentle movements that didn't match the violence I knew he was capable of. Can you walk? I nodded. Tried to stand. My legs gave out. He caught me. Lifted me without asking permission. Carried me toward the exit like I weighed nothing. Your men secured the building. Volkov escaped. We will find him later. He kept walking. Right now, I get you safe. Not I get you back. I get you safe. Like my safety mattered more than territory. More than revenge. More than winning. Outside, the SUV waited. Alexei stood by the door. His expression shifted when he saw me. Relief, maybe, or respect. Hard to tell with him. Dmitri set me down carefully in the back seat. Slid in beside me. Not across. Beside, like before. But different. The door closed. Privacy partition up. Just us. You came? I said. My voice cracked. Yes. You could have died. Yes. Why? He looked at me. Really looked. Those storm gray eyes that had terrified me 3 weeks ago now. Just looked. Tired. Honest. Because I was wrong. He said simply. I manipulated you, used you. Told myself it was necessary. That ends justified means. That you were tool to accomplish objective. You did use me. Yes. But, he paused, searched for words. You were also right, about me being no different than Volkov. I saw people as assets, as means to ends. Even people who mattered. And now I understand. Difference between controlling someone and protecting them, between using someone and partnering with them. He turned slightly to face me fully. I do not need you, Harper. But I choose you. There is difference. Something in my chest loosened. I'm sorry too. For what? For leaving. For calling you monster. I swallowed. For being so focused on moral purity that I couldn't see you were actually trying to save lives, even if your methods were ugly. They are ugly. Yes. But they work. I met his eyes. I've spent my whole life believing that doing things the right way mattered more than getting results. That integrity was more important than impact. I was wrong. You were not wrong. Integrity matters. He said it firmly. But integrity alone saves no one. You taught me that outcomes matter. I teach you that methods matter. Together we find balance. Together. The word hung between us like a promise. Volkov still has those women, I said. The containers I saw, 20 of them. Maybe more. I know. We tracked his shipments. He is moving them tonight. Last chance before he disappears completely. Dmitri pulled out his phone. Showed me a map. Red dots marking locations. 3 sites. 40 men total. We hit all 3 simultaneously. That's impossible. Without inside help. Yes. He zoomed in on one location, which is why you will call FBI. Give them anonymous tip. Coordinates. Timing. Evidence. I stared. You want me to bring in authority? I want you to do what you do best. Expose corruption. Destroy evil men with truth. He put the phone away. And I will do what I do best. Provide force necessary to ensure no one escapes before authorities arrive. You're giving me the story. I am giving you the truth. What you do with it is your choice. But Harper, his voice softened. This time, you wait until women are safe. Until operation is complete. Until we have saved everyone we can save. Yes? I nodded. Yes. Good. He leaned back. We have 4 hours until shipments move. You will write article. I will coordinate assault teams. Then we finish this. Together. I said. Together, he confirmed. The SUV pulled up to his warehouse. Our headquarters. The place that had been prison and sanctuary and battleground and home. Inside, his men were already mobilizing. Maps spread across tables. Weapons being checked. Everyone moving with purpose. Dmitri gave rapid orders in Russian and English. Splitting teams. Assigning targets. Coordinating timing. I sat at my laptop, opened a new document, started writing. Not the article I'd tried to publish 3 weeks ago. Not the righteous expose that accomplished nothing except warning the enemy. This was different. Strategic. Timed. Effective. Names. Locations. Evidence. Everything needed to dismantle Volkov's network, completely. But I waited to send it. Held back. Trusted Dmitri's timing. Trusted him. 2 hours later, I showed him the draft. He read carefully. Made suggestions. Here. Mention the politician. There. Add the shipping company CEO. This part. More specific about routes. We worked together. His intelligence. My words. His strategy. My platform. Partnership. When it was perfect, I saved it. Prepared to send. waited for his signal. Teams are in position, Alexei reported. Ready on your command, Pakan. Dmitri looked at me. Ready? Ready. He spoke into his radio. Execute. Then to me. Send it. I hit send. The article went to my editor. To news organizations. To FBI anonymous tip line. To everyone who needed to know. The truth. Finally. At the right time. In the right way. Now we wait, Dmitri said. No. I stood. Now we go. I'm coming with you. Harper, I need to see for the article. For credibility. For... I met his eyes. For myself. I need to see that we saved them. That this worked. He studied me. Then nodded slowly. You stay behind, Alexei. You do exactly as you are told. You do not take risks. I won't. And Harper? He moved closer. Thank you. For what? For teaching me that power means nothing without purpose. That control is not same as strength. That, he paused, that letting someone matter is not weakness. I reached for his hand. He took it. Let's go save them, I said. Let us finish this. He agreed. Together, we walked out into the night. Partners. Equals. Ready to end the war we'd started 3 weeks ago with a napkin that said help. The docks at midnight looked like a war zone. 3 sites. Simultaneous raids. Dimitri's teams moved with precision while FBI swarmed in behind them. I watched from behind Alexei as containers opened one by one. 23 women. Not 20. 23. Some couldn't walk. Some couldn't stop crying. All of them alive. Volkov tried to run. Made it to his car before Dimitri's men surrounded him. I expected Dmitri to kill him. Wanted to. Even. But he didn't. Just held him until FBI arrived. Let them take him in handcuffs. Let the law handle it, for you, he said quietly when I asked why. Because you taught me that some battles are won with truth, not violence. My article went viral within hours. 7 million views by morning. Congressional hearings announced. Task force formed. Volkov's entire network exposed. Not just Brooklyn. 3 states. Dozens of arrests. Hundreds of victims identified and helped. Real change. Real impact. Because I'd learned to wait for the right moment. Because I'd learned that effectiveness mattered more than righteousness. Because I'd learned to work with a criminal who wanted to do good even if his methods were ugly. 3 months later, I sat at table 6. Same restaurant, same table where everything started. Dmitri slid into the seat across from me. Not beside, across. Like a date, not a captor. He pushed something toward me. The napkin. The original. Help written in my desperate handwriting. You kept it, I said. I keep things that matter. He signaled the server. Ordered in Russian. Then to me, your article won award. Pulitzer nomination, yes. Yes. Still can't believe it. I can. You are excellent journalist. When you are not being stupidly righteous, almost a smile, and you're excellent criminal. When you're not being controlling monster. Fair. The server brought vodka. 2 glasses. Dmitri raised his. The terrible decisions. I raised mine. And better consequences. We drank. Outside. Brighton Beach continued. My investigations continued. His operations continued. We continued. Not perfect. Not pure. Not simple. But effective. Together. Real. I have new lead on weapons trafficking, he said. Albanian operation. Very dangerous. Probably should not involve journalists. When do we start? Tomorrow. He reached across the table. Took my hand. But tonight, we celebrate that you wrote help on napkin and Devil answered. Best terrible decision I ever made. I admitted. Worst, he corrected. But with best consequences. I couldn't argue with that. We finished our vodka. Left together. Partners in an impossible arrangement that somehow worked. Because sometimes the only way to fight monsters is to work with other monsters. And sometimes, the devil you know becomes the partner you choose.